Hello, it's Tiffany. How are you today? Before taking you to Brazil with Gabby, I'd like to introduce myself and tell you how this podcast was born and why I'm creating it. I'm Tiffany, I'm from France, and I'm 36 years old. I was born in Bourges, a city close to Paris. I grew up in Pézy-à-la-Rivière, a small village in the south of France, close to the Spanish border, with my father and my brother. My parents divorced when I was 7, so I grew up without my mom and it was like a little bit hard, but that's okay. When I was a teenager, I met a girl named Anaëlle. She was my neighbor and with time we became very close and now she's like my sister and her mother is like my mom. So finally, I had the chance to choose my mom. After high school, I moved to Toulouse to continue my studies. And I lived there for 12 years before traveling to Australia. When I was young, I had a dream. Become a veterinarian or a natural scientist teacher. So I got a scientific degree from high school and studied biology at university to prepare for the entrance exam to veterinary school. But I failed. I tried to become a teacher, but I realized it wasn't for me, finally. So I had to change my plan. That's why I studied communication through online classes and worked at McDonald's to pay for my studies in the same times. It was hard because I had nobody behind me. I had to organize my week by myself. I needed a lot of discipline, motivation and commitment, and after 3 years I passed my exam. But I didn't speak English very well, so it was hard to find a job and I refused to go to Paris for my first job. So I changed my plan again and went back to school again. I learned web design and I fell in love about this field. I discovered a new job, UX/UI designer. I've been doing this for 8 years now and I really love my job. Basically, I design websites, mobile applications and software. I'm focused on user experience. And to be honest, it makes sense to do this job because people have always opened up to me very easily. So finally, I just use my listening skills and sense of observation for my work and express my creativity when I create mock-up for the design. So it was a training and I have to complete it with an internship and I did that at Air France. It's a very big French company. So to complete this training, I did an internship at Air France and it was an amazing experience and sometimes a little bit weird or difficult. After 2 weeks of my internship, my supervisor tore his Achilles tendon, and when my colleagues told me that, I think it's a bad joke, but it was real. And during a second, I panicked, and after that, I saw it was the change of my life. The head of the department I was in took over and supervised my internship with weekly meetings. And during the meetings, he saw I'm efficient and I don't need anybody to help me because I can do everything by myself. I worked on my project alone in my corner, but secretly with my supervisor. Secretly because he was on medical leave and he wasn't allowed to work. It's like rules in France. So I redesigned an internal Air France app. It was fantastic. I did everything. Research, I discussed with the colleagues to understand their needs. I create the design. I even got into web development. I learned so much. Web development is definitely not my genius area. One day I had a bug and I asked one developer colleagues, then another, and 3 or 4 came in my office to help me. So I have like 3 people around me and I say, okay guys, took the computer and I come back. So I went to get a coffee with another colleagues and ended up debugging the problem myself. It was really funny. just before Christmas, my manager offered me a freelance project. And I'm like, what? Of course I say yes. But it was so unexpected. But I'd always know deep down that I'd be my own boss. But not this soon. And I worked on the project and with Air France around 3 years. Until COVID finally. Around the same time, I started traveling alone. And to be honest, for French, it's very easy to travel in Europe thanks to the Schengen area. It's an agreement between European Union countries that allows residents of the countries to travel within this area with just an ID card. We don't need passport, we don't need visa, we just need a plane ticket and let's go. That's what gave me a taste for travel, maybe. One of my big favorites in Europe is Poland. The people are so kind, respectful, and it's clean. Traveling through Europe, I realized that Toulouse was a little bit dirty. We have so many bottles of water on the ground or some stuff like that. And I no longer felt comfortable going out at night in a dress to see friends because I just felt the men's look on myself. It was unpleasant. I feel like a piece of meat, but guys, I'm a human. It's just a lady with a dress, nothing less, nothing more. And it annoys me because that I can't wear what I want to fear of being arrested in the street when I haven't asked for anything. And I remember maybe 10 or 12 years ago, I came back to my car by underground and a guy followed me on the street. He touched me and I'm just scream and I feel like, maybe I can be raped here. Why? I didn't ask anything. I didn't talk to him. I just have a dress. That's ridiculous. Maybe that's why I didn't go out much and didn't really have a social life. Suddenly, I wasn't happy. My life revolved around work all the time, every day. I did nothing but work, and it's definitely not a good idea in the long term. 2022 was the worst year of my life. My boyfriend broke up with me. I discovered I have endometriosis and I survived a depression. It was time for me to have a change of scenery. I wanted to travel around the world for years. I told myself it was time to go and make this dream come true. I survived depression, so I had to be good for something. Well, traveling around the world alone, I didn't feel capable of doing it and I didn't have enough money saved, so I needed to work. Okay, I was 34. I had 3 working holiday visa options. Canada, it's too cold for me, guys. No way. Argentina, I don't speak Spanish, so no. And Australia, they speak English, I speak English, and it's right next to the New Zealand, so why not? Let's go! On January 21st, I jumped on the airplane for Perth with 2 weeks stop in Bali. I've been traveling in Australia for almost 2 years now. This journey has saved and transformed me. It's a place where I feel safe as a woman. I can wear absolutely anything I want. Nobody harasses me in the street. When I arrived in Perth, I saw so many Australian women dressed quite short with miniskirt. It was a little bit weird for me because of my history. And I felt all the time overdressed. So overdressed. Australia is an amazing country. Very safe for women. Australians are very welcoming. They take time with your English to understand you because in Australia we don't speak English. We speak Australian, for sure. It's not a legend. But in the same time, Australia has big problems with drugs, alcoholism and domestic violence. So it's not a perfect country. When I said to my friend I go in Australia and I would like to discover the culture of the country, everybody told me there are no culture in Australia. Well, yes. But no. What about Aboriginal culture? I know it's not very visible, but it's here. I'm a black and white photographer for a few years, and when I discovered that, I would like to highlight this culture with my camera and give them a voice. But I was received quite poorly by the association. You have to know something in Australia too. There are a lot of racism in between Australian and Aboriginal people, so I can understand this more than cold reception. So maybe I'm not the good person. I talk about this observation and my project with my friend of Berber origin, and she said, I know this. And she said, I know this culture, and yes, I don't think you are the right person to do this. And I felt a bit stupid because I come from a majority. Like, I'm a white from France and Europe, so of course I'm not the right person. She confronted me with my ignorance and I didn't like it. So thank you, Daya, if you're listening me, for that. Another aspect of Australia that I love is the access to the world culture everywhere, all the time. It's an incredible richness. I have friends from everywhere: China, Colombia, Italy, Scotland. Thanks to them, I discovered the culture of so many countries and life stories, of course. For example, talking with Sofia from Peru, she explained that she saved money for a few years to come here and had to pass an English test. That surprised me because we don't have the English test in France. And everybody in the world knows French people are very bad in English. So maybe it would be a good idea. And for the first time of my life, I felt privileged. And it's a little bit weird. During my travel in Australia, I met few friends, but not too much. Because I've been quite solitary for a few years now. Maybe because of the COVID and the lockdown. And I spent so many time alone, and sometimes it was okay, but sometimes I feel so alone and a little bit sad because of that. And I realized I had a toxic relationship with Instagram. I spend way too much time scrolling, looking at the perfect life of people, but it's not real life. We don't interact like we used to. We don't call each other anymore. We don't talk. We just watch the life of friends through their stories, and that's it. We are disconnected, and it's so sad. And now I'm trying to spend less time on it, and to be honest, I feel so much better. We live in a world where everyone locks themselves into their phones. A world that's less and less safe, with the rise of toxic masculinity, for example. An increasingly fake world with AI video polluting and evading social media. A world of overconsumption where productivity and money take priority over humanity. What if we went back to basic? What if we slowed down to put humanity back at the center? Taking the time to connect, share, learn, and be inspired by one another, all through the eyes of women. Does that interest you? Welcome in the team and enjoy listening.